Following up tonight, for nearly a year, our News 5 Investigates team has been working both on air and behind the scenes to stop people from fraudulently obtaining emotional support animal letters.
Those letters not only allow people's pets to fly on airplanes for free, but apartments and rentals cannot legally charge your pet rent in that case. There are doctors and websites willing to write people these support letters for cash without ever knowing if they actually have a disability or mental illness.
As Chief Investigative Reporter Eric Ross reports, the state taking action against a Colorado doctor we busted in an undercover investigation last year.
The Department of Regulatory Agencies issued a 4-page disciplinary letter against Dr. Michael J. Moss, a psychologist who took our money in exchange for writing us a letter for an emotional support potbelly pig. Disability advocates say people are abusing laws meant to protect people who truly need assistance animals. But depending upon which advocate you ask, each has a different opinion on how to solve the problem. From an emotional support kangaroo someone tried to bring into a McDonald's, to an unruly pig that got kicked off a U.S. Airways flight, to a turkey spotted flying Delta, emotional support animals have become increasingly controversial, with people taking exotic pets to places that standard dogs are not even allowed. How are they doing this? News 5 Investigates found multiple websites promising emotional support animals from doctors as long as you pay them money.
You might ask, well, what's the difference? What's the deal? The deal is that if you get that letter, you can go to your landlord and say, you can't charge me a pet fee because I have an animal, because it's an emotional support animal. It can get you on an airplane.
Independence Center CEO Patricia Yeager was outraged to hear that people with no need for support animals are abusing the system. She worked with local lawmakers to draft legislation this year that she hoped would curb the abuse by requiring doctors see patients in person and medical providers use a specific form answering questions disclosing the need for an emotional support animal. But that legislation hit a roadblock before it could be introduced.
This bill had several flaws that would make it be contrary to federal law.
Allison Butler is the legal director for Disability Law Colorado. Her agency immediately expressed concerns with implementing new laws on the state level. For one, she says medical providers are only legally required to state whether a person has a disability. The proposed bill wanted to take things a step further by asking a doctor to verify that a person has a disability-related need for an animal. Butler says that would be contrary to federal law as it's currently written.
Another thing that's clear in the federal law is that you cannot require a person to fill out a certain form in order to have their right to a reasonable accommodation of having an assistance animal in the home. So this bill specifically laid out exactly what needed to be in a letter, and it even gave a form that would need to be filled out. The federal law is just clear that you can't require a certain form.
What is the solution in Colorado? As the legal director, are there options that can be put on the table to find a resolution without breaking federal law?
Absolutely, and we believe they're already there.
For example, she says business owners do not realize that they are well within their rights to ask people with emotional support animals to leave. Only service animals are allowed in businesses like restaurants. You may be asking, what's the difference between the two? Service animals are dogs and in some cases miniature horses, which are trained to provide a specific task. Furthermore, you as a business owner have the right to ask the following 2 questions. Is this a service animal, and what specific task is it trained to perform? But that doesn't solve the problem of people registering their pets as emotional support animals through websites, which Butler admits is a problem.
I think where we really need to focus is on the people who post in newspapers and the internet and say, pay me money and I will give you a way to have your animal go into businesses. Those people seem to understand and know the law and choose to disregard it so that they can make money.
Is that fraud?
I believe that is.
How would the state or even federal government be able to crack down on something like that?
That's consumer protection. we need the consumer protection agencies to step in and take care of that situation.
So if Attorney General Phil Weiser was in this room sitting next to me right now, and he said, Allison, we realize there's a problem here. From a consumer protection standpoint, what can our agency do to cut back on this abuse? What would you tell him?
Start enforcing the law. And when medical providers or businesses are offering that for money they can provide access to a right that only exists for people with disabilities with legitimate service or assistance animals, that they go in and investigate and take action.
And Yeager agrees, saying she too would like to see action on the Attorney General's part. And late this afternoon, a spokesperson for the Attorney General's office says they are working to research our inquiry into this topic. As for the doctor who gave one of our undercover employees a bogus letter authorizing her to travel with an emotional support potbelly pig without ever evaluating her, well, his psychology license remains active with conditions. We're told he has 1 year to complete an ethics class related to that case. And if you've missed any of our previous investigations into this topic, we have everything posted for you on our website, KOAA.com. Just click on the News 5 Investigates tab. Always watching out for you, Eric Ross, News 5 Investigates.